Good morning, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. It's Monday. We're surviving this clock change business, whatever. Um, and today we are learning Perek Gimel of Moed Kattan, the last Perek of Moed Kattan. It's only three prakim, and then we move into Chagiga, which is tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and the Siyam will be on Thursday night in my house in Muncie. If you want to come, please let me know. Um, Today's shiur is the initials for Rush Bas Simcha Cohen, Aaron Nachman Ben Simcha Cohen, Yeshua Mordechai Ben Shepsel, Rab Bracha Sov Shmuel Leib, Eminem Moshe Ben Yosef Ben Shos Lavan Aliyah, and before Shneimach Ad Sar Bas Leah Chana Pesel Bas Yente Yisrael Ben Rachel Leah, Rachel Bas Pesel Zelda, Aaron Yisach Ben Risha, Chai Bas David Bela, before Shneimach Bas Shar Chol Yisrael, and as a to all our brothers and sisters in Eretz Yisrael and around the world. They live in safety and security, and maybe witnessing the bias Mashiach Sekinu B'Mheret Yemenu Amen. Okay, um, this Perek Gimel is gonna end up is gonna the first part is continuing with Chol HaMoed, and then it transitions into Aveilus, um, for a couple of Mishnayos. So, we know that it is usher to cut your hair or to shave on Chol HaMoed. That all has to be done before Yontif. And if you didn't take a haircut before Yontif or take a shave before Yontif, assuming that you're allowed to shave, but certainly a haircut, um, then the Chachamim answered it. They put knas on you that you were not able to shave or take a haircut on Chol HaMoed. But there are exceptions. And these are the exceptions. These are the exceptions of who can take a haircut during Chol HaMoed, um, either because it was impossible for them to take a haircut beforehand, and we'll see what they are, or because there's a mitzvah for them to do so during the Chag, and obviously a mitzvah you're allowed to do. Haba Meredina Siyam, this is Perek Gimel Mishnah Aleph. Haba Meredina Siyam, someone who comes from overseas, like he was on the boat. If you're on a plane, that doesn't really count. I don't think so because the plane wasn't that long of a trip. But if you're on a boat and you're on the boat for a few weeks, a couple of months, going from across the ocean or whatever it is, then you weren't able to get there. You didn't have a barbershop. You didn't have a shaver. You would be able to take a haircut on Chol HaMoed. Only based on Shivya or someone who's released from captivity. I'm not sure about modern day prisons. I mean, they usually have like grooming facilities there. But back in the day, someone who was in captivity, that was not nice conditions. They're very harsh, and you need to come out. Like I think Yosef Tzaddik, he was released over Shoshana to go to Paro, which is not Chol HaMoed, but the first thing he did, he came out, he took a haircut before standing in front of the king. Or one who leaves prison. So they're making a chilik between captivity. Maybe he was kidnapped. Maybe he was, it was actually in prison from the government. Um, because when he's in prison, he's too distressed and too worried, to care about his appearance so much. And there's no place to go. He's in the four walls of a prison. So why should he look his best? Or someone who was under a ban and then was released by the Chachamim. Someone who's a nidoy. He's been put in a cherem. He's not allowed to cut his hair or to do laundry, um, among other penalties. So if his nidoy ended a Chol HaMoed, then or mamish on Arev Yantif, like that goes to his man, then he was unable to cut his hair beforehand and can take a haircut on Yantif. Similarly, one who asked a Talmud Chacham, a to matter his neder that he made about not cutting his hair, and he was released from his neder shortly before Yontif, then he can cut his hair during Chol HaMoed because he was unable to do so before the Chag. Um, this is all theoretical. No one should ever have to go through any of this stuff, and you should always be able to cut your hair before Yontif without any issues. We had Nazir, and the Nazir who the Nazirus was 30 days, and Stam Nazirus is 30 days. So Nazirus ended during Chol HaMoed, or if it was longer and during Chol HaMoed, then and that's a mitzvah to do so. Hamitzora Ola Mitumaso the Taraso. Similarly, Hamitzora, who goes up from his goes from being tummy to tar during Chol HaMoed, he can cut his hair, since that is also part of the purification process. I just wonder, in terms of a Nazir, someone became a Nazir, like shouldn't he have looked at the calendar before he took on the zeros? I mean, like, unless it was like a Shas Mice, so then he said, "Okay, I'm becoming Nazir." He got too drunk on Purim, and now he became he's like, "Oh, I would become a Nazir now," and and then 30 days later it was Chol HaMoed, and he got released from his he finished in the zeros. Now he's got a shave. Shouldn't he have been more responsible and not taking a shua in the zeros before Purim? I mean, maybe. Okay, Mishnah Beis. Just as there are exceptions to taking haircuts on Chol HaMoed, there's also exceptions to doing laundry on Chol HaMoed. Doing laundry is usually also on Chol HaMoed, except for extenuating circumstances, like if you're washing clothing of children or whatever, but it's generally not allowed. I'm not really sure if that still applies nowadays when everything is A, we have cleaning ladies, and B, we have wash and dryers. Like now, there used to be, it was a much bigger deal to go down to the river with the wash basin, and with the whole days and days work to wash one load of laundry. Nowadays, to throw a wash in the wash and dryer takes only minutes. Not sure if that changed the halach or not. Maybe yes, maybe no. Could still do local otats rabbi for a psak on that. But according to the Mishnah, and these are the ones who can do laundry on Chol HaMoed, because again, it was either difficult or impossible for them to do so before the Chag. Someone who comes from overseas, again, a base of Shivya, or someone who's released from captivity, Yitzie based in Surin, or he leaves prison, Manuda, or someone who was in Cherem and was released, and the Cherem was lifted by the Chachamim. Someone who asked a Talmid Chacham to matter a neder about washing his clothes, and his neder was released. He can wash his clothing during Chol HaMoed because he was unable to do so before the Chag, similar to the other one. Mitvachas hayadayim, towels that are used to wipe the hands, or to mitpachas hasfarim, towels placed by barbers over people whose hair they are cutting. Mitpachas hasfak, and bad towels may be laundered to Chol HaMoed because they are constantly being soiled. So, okay, so you can ask the question. We just said that I get a haircut on Chol HaMoed. So why is the Mishnah allowing barbers to wash their towels, or to wash their, that barber cape that they put on for you? If you can't get a haircut anyways, then why can they wash them? Of all things, why can they wash the barber garments? And so the Bartherus says that they could wash them in order to help the people who are allowed to have a haircut like Chol HaMoed. There are people who do have a head to have a haircut, and therefore the barber the barber capes or whatever you want to call those things can be washed on Chol HaMoed. Hazavim, hazavos, v'nidos, v'yodos. Zavim and zavos, and women who are in nida, and those who are giving birth, who frequently soil their clothing. They're going through many pairs of clothing throughout the day. V'chein ha'olin, v'tumah l'tahara, and anyone who goes from being tummy to tahar, it needs to wash his clothing. Hari elu mutarim, all of these people are mutter to launder their clothing their Chol HaMoed. This is just so much clothing to wash. B'shar kol adam asur, and all the people are also to do so. Can't do laundry their Chol HaMoed. Okay, we discussed earlier in the past couple of days, probably on Friday, that anything that required a professional to do work was usher, unless it was for davar to prevent the loss. So now we'll talk about writing. If it ate this Mishnah Gimel, Moed, the following documents may be written on Chol HaMoed, Kiddushin Nashim, documents for Kiddushin, like the star Kiddushin. Someone who says Hariyat Mekudeshesli, but he gives it in a star, because you become a kesef star and bia. Right, the star is Hariyat Mekudeshesli. You slipped her a note. Okay, that can be written on Chol HaMoed. Gittin, in the bill of divorce. If he's so that's a funny one. It's time to give a get on Chol HaMoed is probably usher, but we're talking about someone who's heading out on a dangerous journey for which he fears he might not return. So therefore, he can write a get for his wife on Chol HaMoed, and therefore that would avoid his wife from being in the guna. Also, like in the army of David HaMelech, whenever anyone went out to war, they would get to their wives so that they shouldn't have an issue they should have an issue if they don't come back. Why this guy's leaving on a dangerous journey on Chol HaMoed is a different question. The shuvin and receipts for repayment of a loan. Okay, a lender can write a receipt on Chol HaMoed because the borrower might refuse to pay his loan without receiving a receipt for the payment. So then that would be an issue. Nowadays, when you can repay a loan, say on a digital check, you send the check to the bank, and the bank has record that the uncle paid Beryl to the money that he owed him. So you have a digital record. You don't need to get an actual receipt from the lender. You just need to have a record that the loan money was paid and was received. Die to keep testaments of gifts given by seriously ill people. This is someone who's about to die. The shchime, right? He's seriously ill. He wants to, he can transfer his assets to his next of kin. That can be done. That can be written down on Chol HaMoed, and without any issue. Matana, your documents that are attesting to a gift of real estate has to be a document over there, or prusbul, and a prusbul, which prevents loans from being canceled by the Shemitah year. That's a funny one, because that's supposed to be written before the end of the year. So why are you waiting? Why are you doing this on Chol HaMoed? I'm doing this on Chol HaMoed Sukkot, which we just started, or Chol HaMoed Pesach 6 months later. I don't know. I don't understand the prusbul thing. That's just but okay. Igroshum, letters of evaluation of a borrower's property so that a lender may collect his loan from it. Igeris Mazam, or letters testifying that someone has agreed to support another person. Um, that all has to be written down. Shtare Chalitza Meunim, and certificates of Chalitza that allow the widow of a childless man to remarry and was refused Yibum, and certificates of Miyun for someone, a lady who was an underage marriage. Ushtari Baruin, documents recording which judges have been selected to judge a case. The Gezerus based in, and the records of court edicts, the rulings that are handed down by a court. The Igros, some of Shus, and permissible letters, social letters between friends. You can send a text or WhatsApp. All those things can be written down on Chol HaMoed without any problems. But what cannot be written down? Okay, Mishnah Dalet, we may not write down loan documents on Chol HaMoed if the lender is willing to lend money without receiving a document. However, if the lender does not trust the borrower, it will not give the loan without documentation. Or if the sofer does not have what to eat and needs the job of writing the documents in order to earn money for his yonta food, then he may write it. Okay. And koisvid svarim tefillin mezuzos b'moed. We may not write Sefer Torah, tefillin, or mezuzos on Chol HaMoed, even though they are mitzvah items. Vein magian os achas afilu b'sefer hazara. We may not correct a single letter, even in the Torah scroll of the chutzner of the Beis Hamikdash, which the Kohen Gadol read aloud on Yom Kippur. Seems that they only did Kriyas Torah once a year in the Beis Hamikdash. So this Torah cannot be corrected on Chol HaMoed because it's not going to be used during the Chag, because the Torah is read. If it's Sukkot time, the Torah was read probably 1 week earlier on Yom Kippur, and it's not being used until the next Yom Kippur. So no, you can't do it. I wonder if you're allowed to write or printed Svarim on Chol HaMoed. Don't know. Rabbi Yehuda says, "Kosev Adam Tefillin Umazuzos LaAtzmo." A person may write Tefillin Umazuzos for himself in order to fulfill the mitzvah of Tefillin Umazuzah, but not for the purpose of selling them. I guess according to the Mishnah, you wore Tefillin on Chol HaMoed. Right. So according to halacha, to Orach Chaim, according to the Bartanur, the writing tefillin and mezuzahs is mutter even if they will not be needed during Chol HaMoed, in order to prepare them for use after the Chag. Interesting. Generally, you can't do that, but tefillin and mezuzahs are exceptions to the rule because they are needed constantly, and a person cannot go even a short time without them. So you can get it done on Chol HaMoed because you need the day after. Let's see siso. And he may spin techeles wool against his thigh to use it in his tzitzis. That can be done on Chol HaMoed. Okay, now we're moving into next few Mishnahs until the end of the Masechta is moving into Aveilus. So we know that there's someone that you sit Shiva for designing Krovim, for the father, mother, brother, sister, son, daughter, and spouse. And, but by most the Krovim, it's Shiva and Shloshim, and for parents, it's 12. It's Yom Beis Chodesh as well. So, um, okay, so there's various halachas that apply regarding Shiva, and there's a whole intro here which we're not going to go through. But okay, Mishnah Hey, Hakover es Meso Shlosh Yam Koden Regel. Someone buries his dead relative 3 or more days before a chag. Um, so Batla Menu Gezerah Shiva. The law of Shiva is canceled for him, and he does not have to observe the rest of the Shiva after the Chag. The Shloshim, however, is not canceled. Okay, so let's say Pesach is Tezvav. So if someone was nifter on, let's say, Yud Aleph or Yud Beis, or say Yud Aleph, you had buried on Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, and Yud Dalid. Okay, um, so then the rest of Shiva is canceled out. Shmona, if the burial took place 8 or more days before the Chag, so the Shiva ended, and the Shloshim began before the Chag arrived. So if Pesach is Tezvav, so 15 minus 9 is 8, minus 8 is 9. So if by Tes Nisan, what am I saying? 15 minus 7. Okay, by the 7th of Nisan, someone was nifter and they got through the whole Shiva. Now Shiva's over before Pesach starts. Bitla Himenu Gezerish Shloshim. So then the laws of Shloshim are canceled for him. He does not have to observe the rest of Shloshim after the Chag. Shabbos does not cancel his Shiva. Shabbos, okay. Bifnei Amru is because the earlier Chachamim said Shabbos Ola Beinam Asekis. Shabbos counts as one of the days of Shiva and does not cut it short. Rather, the Shiva continues after Shabbos. Regalim Mafsikin Ve'enon Olin. But the Chag cuts the Shiva short, as we just learned, and they do not count toward the Shiva, and it does not count toward the Shloshim. So you have a few things over here. So first of all, like if someone is nifter right before Yom Kippur, and halach, we don't really go deal with this 3-day thing. If someone has a chance to be buried before Yontif and they sit Shiva for even an hour or two, then the whole Shiva gets knocked out and they go into Shlo, and then they continue with Shloshim. That's the halacha. I've never seen this 3-day rule. Certainly, if they have more than that time, then but I've seen situations where the person sat Shiva for 2 hours on Erev Yontif, and then they went on, and the Shiva ended. Okay, Rish, there's a Vav. Okay, Mr. Vav. Rabbi Lezer says, since the Chorim Beis Hamikdash, Shavuos is treated with regard to Aveilus like Shabbos, and it counts as part of Shiva and does not cancel it. Since Shavuos is not only 1 day long, it is not treated like the other Chagim. Back in the day, we still hold this in terms of Tachanun, but Shavuos was a 1 day holiday. You were able to bring Tashlumin with the Karbanos for 7 days, including the day of Shavuos, 6 days later. That's why many people don't say Tachanun for a full week after Shavuos. But now, since there are no Karbanos, then Shavuos is only 1 day, and well, then that would count as like a Shabbos, and it would count as part of the Shiva week. Rabbi Galil says Rosh Hashanah Yom HaKippurim Kiregalim, even Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and certainly Shavuos are treated in this regard like Pesach and Sukkot, and that they canceled these periods of mourning do not count toward them. So the Chachamim rule not like either of them. Rather, they say that Shavuos, which is a yantif, is treated like the other, like Pesach and Sukkot, even Bisman Hazeh. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Shabbos. And Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which are Himei Adin, they are treated like Shabbos, and they count toward the count of Shiva, and they do not um, they do not stop it. So again, consult your local Orthodox rabbi for practical halacha. Mishnah Zayin and Korin. You do not on Chol HaMoed, we do not rip the clothing. An owning does not rip his clothing. Nor does he bare his shoulder. The ain mavrin, nor do we make a suda for the Aveilus. Back in the day, it was customary to walk with the funeral procession with the shoulder exposed. Nowadays, we still do kriya upon the mace, but we do not expose the shoulders anymore. That minute was bottle. So Ella Krolo Shalmeis. So the only ones who get these meals are the immediate relatives of the deceased who have an obligation to mourn, but those who are not obligated to Aveilus, they cannot tear their clothing, bare their shoulders, or partake of the Sudas Hara. Nor do we join in the Aval at the Sudas Hara while we are seated on an overturned couch, as was the custom on a regular weekday. Rather, we do so on a regular chair, for only the Aval sits on an overturned couch. Okay, so generally we do not so the Sudas Havra is generally eaten with other people, and I mean I did it twice already, unfortunately. Both my parents were nifter, but they're not nifter Chol HaMoed, thank God. And in the Sudas Havra, like you're sitting there, you're sitting on a low stool, and you're eating some food and an egg and everything, and it's not a pleasant experience. But during Chol HaMoed, it happens at Chol HaMoed, then the Aval eats alone, and the does not eat with friends or other relatives on Chol HaMoed because it's not a public Aveilus. Ein malich in the base one does not deliver food for the Sudas Havra to on Chol HaMoed. Lo b'tavla, either on a sorry. These are laws that apply at all times, not just in Chol HaMoed. Okay. So ein malich lebeis ha'evel, you cannot deliver food to the shiva house. Lo b'tavla, either on an elegant tray, lo be'ish kutla, or in a silver bowl, lo b'kanun, or in a fancy basket, ela b'salim, but only in plain baskets, so as not to embarrass people who cannot afford these expensive serving utensils. Seems like they had takanas for Shiva too. The ein omer berachos Aveilus ben Moed. We do not recite the special berachos and Muslim for Shiva house on Chol HaMoed. Aval ondim b'shura v'nachamin. We do stand in a row and console the Aveilus coming out of the cemetery. The portrait as harabim, and we then immediately dismiss the public. Um, they do not accompany the Aval home on Chol HaMoed. They go back to their Yontif mode. Mishnah Ches, we do not put the aron of the mace in the street al Chol HaMoed, shelo lahargil es hesped, so as not to facilitate them which are usher on Chol HaMoed. Rather, you take it right to the cemetery. Below shall nashim, nor do we put the aron of women ever in the street. Not a Chol HaMoed, not the rest of the year. They are covered out of respect for the women who passed away, because blood may flow from them even when they are nifter, and you don't want to cause them embarrassment even when they have passed away. Nashim b'moed ma'onos, women may engage in the type of chanting called inoi al Chol HaMoed. It's like a funeral chant. That was normal. You could do that on Chol HaMoed. Avlo mitfachos, but they may not clap their hands in grief. Rabbi Yishmael says, "Hasmochos lemita mitfachos." Those women who are near the aron, they can directly in front of the mace. They can clap their hands in grief. And the last Mishnah of the Masechta, Roshei Chadashim b'Chanukah b'Purim b'Onos b'Tefachos. On Rosh Chodesh and Chanukah and Purim, women can engage in the type of chanting called Inoi and clap their hands in grief. But on all these occasions, Chol HaMoed and Rosh Chodesh and Chanukah and Purim, they cannot do any kinos, the type of more intense grief as do a Tisha B'Av. You can't do that because it's more intense than the other inoi and the clapping. Once the deceased has been buried, they can't chant nor clap in grief, even on Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, or Purim. So, okay, so what is this inoi thing? What type of chant is allowed on Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, and Purim? Shekulan onos ka'achas. When all the women chant together, that's called inoi. Kina. So what's a kina? That's usher on all these days. Sha'achas mitaberes kulan onos nachareha. When one woman speaks and all the others respond after her, that's called a kina. Shenamar, as it says in Yirmiyahu, Velamdena b'nosechem nehila isha, v'isha v'usa kina, and teach your daughters lament, and each woman shall teach her friend the skill of kina. The implication over here is that each woman will teach her friend how to do this. Excuse me. But concerning the future, Yeshaya says, "Vala amavas lenetzach amacha Hashem dima mialkopan." That death will be eliminated forever, and Hashem will erase tears from all the faces. Meaning that in Olam Haba, death will be abolished. People will live forever, and we're just trying to end off the Masechta on a more positive note. Kattan, and tomorrow we will begin the Chagiga, which is the last Masechta of Seder Moed. And as again, the Siyum is on Thursday in my house. If you want to come, please let me know. Have a wonderful day, and Kol Tov.